Your video with Sasha yesterday with
What were you cracking up about?
in fact, if I have bags under my eyes, because I was staying up till 3 watching you guys.
That's funny.
No, I was cracking up when you said you could train the CCCP because of snow shoveling. You crack yourself up like I do. I swear to God. And then, wait, are we on? No,
We're on now.
What?
We are on now.
Oh, we're live. Hi.
We're on now. Oh, all of the backstage chat has to end now.
So excited. What?
Oh my God, that's so funny. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so we made it. We're here.
We did.
We did. We did. So everyone, welcome. Yeah, we're going to give people a minute to get into the show. So yeah, we're kind of shifting gears a little bit on the channel a little bit, because I know people have been really getting used to seeing the uploads with Sasha, but I've also been doing interviews with authors and stuff again. So so prior to probably about 3 months ago, all of the shows were about mastering your health and well-being, and in all areas. But because there was so much just crazy stuff going on, I thought, you know, we needed to really focus on the crazy stuff that was going on in the world. But in the meantime, on this channel, we've actually not been doing anything around health and well-being. And so I wanted to pick it up in like right now and start actually doing that into the new year, because so many people are struggling with wellness. And so people are struggling with financial wellness and with health and well-being. And so there's both of those aspects going on right now. And so swinging back to the old school, my show's been on since 2016 on Voice America is where I started. And then now I'm on UK Health Radio. So we've had lots of guests that have talked about all this stuff, but because I'm so busy with other things on UK Health Radio, we've not been able to have any time to actually showcase and highlight the real life strategies that people need to be well right now. And so I'm really grateful, Joanne, that you jumped on with me today, because we got to get started right now.
You're grateful.
I am grateful.
I'm grateful. Oh my gosh.
Oh, wonderful. So Joanne, let's talk about how we met. So I'll just tell everybody, this is kind of the kickoff and the launch of a series of YouTube lives, and wherever, if we get booted off, we'll go elsewhere. But for right now, we're still on YouTube. We haven't been completely censored off. So that's really nice. And we must be protected by something, because honestly, I have had videos suppressed and things like that. So you can also find content on 𝑐h1.ca. So if you see one day that we're not here, go and check out the ch1.ca site, because that's where we'll be. And in January, we'll be able to live stream there as well. So all of these little things are working together. But right now, the reason why we wanted to launch this series of things is because so many people have been saying, hey, like, how do you stay well? How do you stay healthy? How do you, remain calm? How do you, go out in the world without your mask and still, not put on 300 pounds and become a raging alcoholic and et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, so the reason why is because there's some specific strategies that people can develop in order to be well, and that we're assaulted all the time by things that make us sick, and people don't realize that. So again, along this journey, I've been really blessed to meet such wonderful people that actually have real life stories about things that they've, struggled with, and then how they've overcome them. And then really, what are the strategies to do that? And so Joanne is somebody who came along the way in that regard, and that she reached out to me and said, hey, blah, 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 let's chat. And so we did, and hit it off, and went, she's got a really great story, and she got a great strategy for also being well. And so Joanne, let's take just a minute to introduce you. Where are you? What was your health struggle? We're going to talk about health today. And then, how did you overcome it? Welcome. And let's just get at it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited. Kind of nervous, but I'll get through it. So
you will.
Oh, well, I know, right? We'll have to work with it. So I know it was interesting, because something you said that made me actually say something to you. It was a show with Sasha talking about being one of these people who is aware, who isn't, you know, wandering around just like disconnected from source, from the world or whatever. And you mentioned your own health journey and how like with that, you kind of can't, you no longer have the luxury to be just clueless basically, and not connected, and not be self-aware basically. And so it's almost like a luxury that comes with it, to where you've gone through a challenging health journey, and you're forced to look at yourself, your life, like what you're saying, how am I going to navigate this, and look at all these different components that I think a lot of people just don't have to look at on a daily basis. You know, there's always talk about like the liberal intellectuals, and they're well fed and well salaried, well pensioned, whatever. They don't have a ton of struggle.
And lots of health benefits to cover off, you know, masking symptoms, sadly, masking symptoms, because that's what they've been taught they need to do also, right? So it's a snow job.
Absolutely.
It's a snow job.
It's a total, it's, but you can't, so that really hit home for me, because that is the reason why I think, well, many reasons, but I think anytime you're a little bit different, you are automatically looking at things through a different lens, right? So then that has been kind of the way that I've approached my own journey, seeing it as a blessing kind of from day one, because I think it like actually set my life in a much better direction than had I not had it.
Right.
But so what happened was I've had MS. I've been diagnosed multiple sclerosis. I think everyone knows that. It sounds so menacing, right? Like, and everyone has an aunt with MS, and that was in a wheelchair, and that's like the thing you hear. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I had the first symptom 22 years ago. I was trying to figure out last night coming on. But that's not always definitive. You know how it is with these diagnoses. They have all these like criteria that you have to meet, markers. But the second that happened, I was like, oh no, this isn't going to work for me at all. You know, I don't know, 27, I think I calculated last night, 26. So I just started doing research, but that was me too. So in a way, you know, not everyone is wired the same way to be like automatically like defiant and like alternative, like, no, this won't work for me. Some people definitely do take the approach of like, oh my gosh, I need help, I need medicine. How can we fix this? You know, so again, it's like, there's certain things that happen in life that I think shape how you react to any situation like that comes up. So that was 1998 is when I had the first symptom. And then 2000 is when I actually got diagnosed. But it's such a trip because, as you know, too, like with stuff like this, you're paying attention, you're watching all the signs at that point, no matter how, mm-hmm. no matter how fearless you are, you know, your arm falls asleep and you're like, oh, okay, MS is acting up. You know?
Yes, that's like, right. Because once you know, you can't not know.
Right. Exactly. And so, but there's in my world, like at that age, I was just finishing graduate school, and I was like this close to being engaged and like just beginning a life, you know? And so it was like, how am I going to navigate this? Mm-hmm. Like that threw the whole thing for a loop. But I just did a ton of research, and always pretty much for the entire 20 years, I took medicine in the very beginning for a year or two, shots. But then I went off that, you know, to start a family, and never have gone back on. So it's all for the 20 years has been all without any traditional medication.
Right.
There's been plenty of bumps and twists and turns and, you know, different therapies. And I think that's one thing we can totally touch on. I'm so glad you're doing this show, because there's so many people I talk to. And there's so much overwhelm, as there has always kind of been for me, like, whoa, there's a million alternative therapies you can do, infinite expense. You can spend, some are snake oily, some are legitimate, some are free and probably the purest and the truest, and that's all the technology that we have right here, right? So so that's kind of been my journey, is just trying to navigate life with it as best as I can. I think that's for everyone, right? For you, for anyone listening.
Yeah. And I think too that part of the thing maybe you could tell the audience a little bit about is what kind of work you were doing, and do you have a family? Because again, it's like the relatability of things is often people will look at me and they'll go, oh, she must be a single, you know, career woman who just, you know, did the career thing and that's how she's kept her act together. And I go, oh no. No. It's like, I've got 2 biological children and had a big hand in raising another 4. I've got, you know, 3 grandchildren. And so then people go, oh, and
it is doable. Yeah.
Right. But it's not that it's doable. It's just that it was, because I made lots of mistakes along the way too, was way too hard on myself, obviously. But I do think if you're that the assumption is that life must be easy if you've got your health in, you know, sort of in balance when you're in your 50s. A lot of people will look at me and go, how did you manage to be well? That's abnormal. Even just looking at this landscape of people who are in their 50s, most people are not well. And then when they find out that I've got children and grandchildren, then they go, holy, really? And then when they find out I've been through a couple of divorces, then they go, oh my God.
Oh, a couple? I didn't know it was a couple.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that later.
That's right. Anyway, so
I'm a one only.
You got time to do more. No. I'm kidding. So my heart's desire is for everybody to be in a really great, like, have the love thing happening. We'll talk about that as we go in, but talk about your actual real life. So you had the disease, but you've also, you were married, you had a child, and
I was married, and I was so desperately my entire life. So, and I think this is, it's fairly relevant. So my entire life, my goal was to be normal and to fit in, because I came to the US when I was 10, 11 from Slovakia. Mm-hmm. We escaped from communism. So, and censorship, totally fitting right now.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I've lived it, and I promise people always, you don't want it. But so I always wanted to have literally the Potter Barn lifestyle. And from high school on, because I came at that age at 11 where everyone wants to fit in, it's just the thing. Mm-hmm. It was like, my name's Johanna, I told you. I hear you guys say Johan, and I'm so envious. Give me my name back. What was I thinking? Fortunately, I never legally changed it, so it's on everything legal.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, so Joanne it was, and it just went off and running, college, sorority, football, OMG, I'm so all-American. Of course, none of those people are speaking to me now. Right. My sorority sisters and my college friends are like, you're crazy, we're out. Just, for obviously views on current affairs. So that was it.
You've also got some, because this is interesting, you have some insight about current affairs because you were working in DC.
I worked in Washington. Yeah. So I went to college. I went to University of Maryland. And because I loved America so much, because you come at that age and you're so impressionable. And I just thought, oh my gosh, coming from the East to the West, I literally talk like that, like the West still, because that's what it was. Yeah. And so it was like the promised land. I mean, just from a child's point of view, just right. Legos and Monchichis. I didn't like those, but just stuff that is how children reduce their world. Right. This pretty and colorful and stuff. And communism really is, it is kind of emblematic of communism is kind of like a gray, the cinder block buildings, kind of barren shelves, and you come to colorful America. So I wanted to study government, and I did. I was a poli-sci major. This whole thing is trigger. And then I got a job on the Hill in right. the Senate for a Rockefeller.
Right. So bing, bing, bing. It's like,
sometimes I think about this, and I don't talk about it a lot because it was 96, 97. I graduated
As
from
you
college
walked
in
into
96.
the incinerator,
You and
eyes
it's
wide
so
open.
dark there. It ate me alive, Leah. And only in retrospect do I realize, because I've certainly dealt with little, kind of dysphoric, anxious kind of things all my life. So who knows if it was the hill, but I had to get out of there. I mean, I lasted, I think, a year and a half, and I moved to San Diego. I had to get out because there was just such a heavy, 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 heavy darkness. And it's such a yucky world, because what happens is, I don't know, hopefully, no, this isn't anything that secretive. Just any staffer could tell you this, is it's its own world, right? Because all the Senate aides and the House aides and all the White House aides, everyone's friends, and everyone goes on parties at the Monocle, and you all ride the little underground trams together with the senators. You'd see like Al Gore, like, hey, good morning. It becomes like nothing. Right. And the thing is a lot of these people who start out with the elected officials, they start with them, they're buddies from high school, and they start with them when they start going up through the ranks. The ranks, and then they become chief of staff, but they really don't know anything, and they don't necessarily have to be a super bright person. They're just like their drinking buddy from or childhood friend. Mm-hmm. And so there's all these egos up there, because all of a sudden these people have all this power. Right. And the way that it works is, there's endless topics for any one aide to or official to know. So the aides are the ones who compile all the information. So you get the senator who gets a stack of binders on the Persian Gulf War, for example, because I worked on the Veterans Affairs Committee. So I've seen the Agent Orange, the Persian Gulf War syndrome, or whatever, because Rockefeller was the chairman and then he was the ranking when they lost the majority. So so I put together the binders. I did. And then he's like, looking through it, and that's how he gets his knowledge set, and that's how they vote. Right. So it's not like these are some like enlightened beings who know all about these issues that they're voting on. And to their credit, there's no way that they could. I mean, there's only so much bandwidth. Right. Sorry, Leah. That's okay. No worries. There's only so much bandwidth, and then it just went dark. There's only so much bandwidth. Well, yes. It was my son's dad calling, which is somewhat disconcerting, but if we get a text like 911, Alex is in jail, we'll know, because he's 16. Oh, show's over. Gotta go bail the kid out of jail. Kid, I'm on a YouTube live. What are you doing? So they just can't possibly know everything. So it was an amazing experience. But because of that, so add that to the list. I actually don't know what it's like to be asleep at all. I couldn't possibly, just with my background, and then with MS, and then working on the Hill, I've always watched CNN kind of like with believing like every third word that they say, like kind of like fiction, like almost humoring like my friends. Yeah, very much like fiction. So it's very funny to totally to get out of there with yourself still somewhat intact. So good for you. Pat on the back. I don't know. I think I just went off on a tangent. I'm sorry, but I do have the history of, oh no, I forget. I'm sorry. You asked me a question and it had something to do with it's just like your real life. It's like you've had a real life. I'm sorry. You've had to work. You've had a frame of reference for work. You haven't been sitting on a beach somewhere tanning and someone's been paying the bills and feeding you bonbons. You've actually been in the real world, dealing with real world things. And I think that, there's just a level of the relatability that other women or men go, oh, okay. They've done some of the same stuff I've done. They have, or they've had some of the same life experience I've had, because when you've got the manifestation of unwellness in your body, whether that's MS or it's symptoms of Huntington's disease, or it's any chronic illness. So there's lots of, or cancer or whatever it is. There's stuff you need to navigate in your life to either be better or to get sicker. And those are kind of right now at this time, exactly at this time, there's all this stuff happening that's putting a lot of pressure on people. So they're in the terms of the night sky. So the context of astronomy it is very relevant right now. So whether you're spiritual, whether you're Christian, whether you're not
religious at all or whatever, everybody is feeling this compression. And so if you were sick before, you may be sicker. And if you were healthy before, you might still be struggling
Everything's amplified.
Yeah, anger, nervousness, whatever. Or you might be on the opposite side of things of going, it's like I feel great. And it's like I'm so, but being aware that we're under this real compression and that it's got a short timeline. So the short timeline might be, 3 weeks, 3 months, or a year. But this short timeline, if you want to feel better, you've got to be conscious that there is this, that it's an absolute contraction that is happening right now, that is for real, that everybody on the planet is experiencing. So you're not by yourself, you're not alone feeling that. And that, but just the knowing that and going, okay, I'm not alone feeling that. I'm not alone if I'm struggling with whatever the symptoms are of whatever disease. And though, what are the tools in order to actually navigate day to day or moment to moment and to move yourself into a place of health and well-being? And so you've had lots of opportunity to actually do that since 1998 when you had your first diagnosis, but you've also probably had some things that cost you a lot and kicked you in the butt, and that you now go, okay, that was I don't know if I would recommend that particular course of action for anybody else, or, so what's the wisdom that you have as a result of having your lifespan? What kind of things really worked? Or maybe even what things didn't work and that you went, oh man, went off on a way big tangent there. And so,
yeah. Okay. So that was the question. So it actually ties back in. So it wasn't too bad of the DC detour.
It was relevant.
That's relevant. Those things pop up, it's like, it comes up and you almost want to talk about it. Like, God, did that really happen? Like,
very relevant.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So I definitely had a life, and I had, and MS did affect my life as much as at the time I didn't want to believe that it was, or it did.
Yeah.
So I only had one child because we got divorced, but when he was 2, so then we just didn't go on out more, which was actually harder. I think it's a lot easier. Sometimes people are like, well, at least you only had one. No. Then I ended up just being social director because we're both very outgoing. And so we had a million friends. So thank God for that.
Right.
But, I was divorced by the time he was 4 back in San Diego. We moved to Washington for a little bit, which it's also a lot tougher for a lot of people I know who are in climates that aren't as forgiving and easy. I mean, San Diego is idyllic. It's pretty much 70 here during the day. Right. I live on the bay, I'm outside in flip-flops constantly. So that helps. Not everyone can move, obviously, but maybe life needs to be structured in such a way, especially now with what's happening with the world. Like, I think more people, one of the blessings of this, and I see a lot of blessings in all of this, huge, as messed up it is, for people to really consider. Like, I know you were talking about it on one of your shows, or you and I talked about it or something, to where it's like, are we going to go leave the kill grids, go live more on the land, in these smaller towns, kind of, is there going to be more of an exodus and a movement towards that? And I hope there is, because I think even people I work with in alternative health tell me, because I'm in a huge complex, and they're like, you're getting annihilated. I need to get the little 5G thing,
right?
EMF blocker, which is probably helpful. But I think that if one is to take a look at health and prioritize that, maybe that's a thing that people can think about. But so I was here in San Diego. I had a child, and I was fortunate because I had the master's. I have an MBA, and somehow people think stuff, and I don't. And the last person that should have gone to business school is me. I mean, I don't know I'm one of those people who's like consistently, you're intuitive, you're friendly, you're warm, but God, you're so impractical, and like, not a clue, like grounded in reality, like financially or anything like that. Right. It's all intuition. It's all heart. It's all whatever. But I did. And it was marketing though. So it was fuzzy, soft, fluffy, and public relations. So that's another reason. I'm like, gosh, I've manipulated and spun stories myself. So I know how
internally for yourself.
for my clients. So it's
Oh,
internally,
yes.
and so it's not hard to do. But because I had that, I was able to freelance and like work from home and structure life in that way, because it would have been all the harder to, it would maybe not harder. I mean, to be honest, sometimes going to an office is, as you know, more relaxing than being home with young children, for sure, 100%. But the kid needed me. So that was a decision that I made. But, you know, working from home has definitely got its own massive pluses and also drawbacks, because you're never really off, because you always know you could be doing more. You could technically be doing stuff 24/7.
Right. And sometimes that's how you do it. So I was raised on a farm, and so the 24/7 thing doesn't really,
I'm listening.
yeah, it doesn't really surprise me, or I don't find it weird, because you are more living with the rhythms of nature and what is ever required of you. So if it was, you're taking care of newborn animals, doesn't matter what time of year it is or whether it's snowed or it hasn't snowed, you're up doing that. So there's weird constructs that we live in that are actually fake, that make us think that it's a hardship, and a difficult thing to take care of kids, because that's what we've been indoctrinated to think. Like our ability to be free and raise our children, because we always need to earn a paycheck, right? Oh, you got to earn a paycheck. And as a woman, you don't have any value if you're not earning a paycheck, or you can't pay your own way, or blah, blah, blah. So you can't even be comfortable with your own children. So I think there's a bit of I think that there is a little bit of a shift back now, to where parents are just not quite putting up with this sort of idea that it's okay to work away. It's okay to work away from home. It's, that the women have to work out, or there's no respect for them, that there's a value in the things that the wife or mother does in the house that are nurturing the children and making meals. I know my son-in-law will say of my daughter, he says, seriously, she's the best cook ever, and nobody else knows how to cook that's her age. Nobody. It's like they all eat out all the time. He goes, but like, really? I come home, oh yeah, nobody knows how to cook. Nobody has any basic life skills because their parents didn't teach them anything. It's like they were ordering food out, served en masse, sitting in front of a TV, playing gaming. And sometimes the parents were doing that too. So I wasn't doing that. I didn't do that path. I did the TV was off. Kids learned how to cook, but that's because that's how I was raised. And so the kids had to go to daycare when they were really young, because I was single. Definitely that was a challenging time. And then there was, times where, because I've been self-employed and have my own company for so long, that, you'd get on a contract and you'd work your little tail off, and then the contract would be over. And then it's like you're trying to scramble to actually reestablish your relationship with your kids, because you've been off and running and doing whatever. So now though, after having tried lots with the Huntington's, like the genetic status around that, and needing to be well, though it obliterates things like drinking all the time, or, which I think when you're socializing and you're working out, there was always this, we'll come out to another party, and, you got to network this way, Leah, and blah, blah. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I can't do it. And here's why. So I had a reason why not to. So I didn't get pressured a lot, which I think a lot of people get pressured to do the network marketing at like your place of work. We got to all go out for drinks, and we all got to go out until whatever time of night and whatever else. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Sorry, guys. So my girlfriends would be flying to New York to go shopping for purses, and I'd be like, nope, I'm not doing that. I've got 2 young kids at home. And I don't need it.
I think it was, I had a huge network too, because actually the one job that I did have coming out of grad school was like super in the public eye, and like networking and wired, and a million parties you could go to, or happy hours, not parties, I guess.
Yeah, just happy hours.
Events and networking. And I can't stand networking because I can't stand small talk. Blah,
Right. Well, yeah, small talk that's not for a purpose, right?
Right, exactly like that. Just kind of just like to check off a list. Like I talked to so and so from this company, and there's value to it, because I mean, a lot of us are natural connectors, that like we're doing this, right, or whatever, just wanting to connect. So there's value to it. But I never liked it either, and I also really never went out like that.
Right. There's a safety in not doing it.
I remember probably my greatest mentor, my old boss, she told me, she's like, I think Alex keeps you grounded, my son.
Yes.
And
Yes.
absolutely, no doubt. I mean, because I'm not wild at all. So I wouldn't have been like out partying necessarily. I certainly drank for a bit. I think the amount of drinking that goes on among parents, like it's like a joke. There's endless memes by moms, like, you know, day drinking and like,
Right.
you know, when the kids are acting up.
Yeah.
I didn't quite do that, but I mean, it's definitely very prevalent. And then of course I haven't in ages, but he did, I think, keep me grounded. Just schedule keeps you grounded. I think schedule is a good thing. I'm not naturally a scheduled, structured person at all. I lose track of time completely. But I think having the children around, you have to stay on some kind of a schedule. And I think that can actually be helpful somewhat in organizing a busy life, especially freelancing or working from home where you don't have artificial hours. I mean, of course, I think time's BS and a total illusion, like I know you do, but we have to work within it right now.
Yes.
Inconveniently.
One day, maybe not.
On this earth plane right now, yeah. So, you know, Leah, what it is kind of, and I'm so glad I'm talking to you because you've been there as a single mom. It is moment to moment. It is the ultimate, you're in the now, because something can come up any moment and you're just adjusting on the fly. Especially, you know, I suppose if money was infinite, it would be a little bit less like that, because you could plan farther ahead and you could get all the support that you needed. And maybe at the time, if I had more of the skills that I have now in terms of creating my world and my reality, I didn't know a lot of the things that I know now that would have probably made life easier. But I was just scrambling, you know, trying to keep up one day at a time. And I think that's a lot more of the people that we might be speaking to. It's not everyone's got like a master command of like, right? Like,
yeah. And I think that the thing that you pointed out about your boss saying, the wisdom of a coach that you respect is really important. So going, you know, Alex keeps you grounded, and that part of what's missing right now in the world is wisdom, and that knowledge is lived experience. So I find that so many people that are giving any kind of advice don't actually have any life experience. They've never gone through much of anything, and their first go-to. And so I was really lucky also to have these either mentors in my parents or mentors that were real world people that I would go, what are you doing in your life to be successful there?
Yeah, for sure.
Picking that apart and then going, okay, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do that right there. And I'm going to do it for however long it takes me to get good at it. But I would never, it was one of the things when people be going, oh, like why don't you buy whatever book and blah, blah, blah. I'd like, look at that person. They're not even well. Why would I buy a self-help book from them when they're sick? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And so, no, but people do it all the time. It's just like, I'm going to take a weight loss coaching thing from somebody who has struggled with weight my entire life. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go to the person who actually, you know, has lost the weight, has kept it off for a span of time. It's like hiring a business coach, because I was an executive coach, a business coach for a number of years. And then people going, well, who should I hire to do business coaching? Well, what kind of business do you want to build? Well, I want to be a millionaire. I said, well, don't hire somebody who's only making 5 figures, like for making 4 figures or 5 figures. And even if they say they've made money, if they can't show you that they are in the money bracket that you want, and they've been that way for a substantial amount of time and they've kept their wealth, don't hire them, because they don't know what they're talking about. And it costs you thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars when you make those kind of mistakes in business. People notice it in business, but they give themselves a pass in their life. They go, oh, I didn't really feel the pain that much. It didn't cost me that much, until you're looking back, 5 years or 10 years and go, holy, that decision that I made around the person I was going to date, oh, that's cost me like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years.
That actually really freaks me out. Like,
or the health strategy that I've been using is costing me, however much it is. And but it can be literally hundreds of thousands.
you're so right though. And that actually can be, I'm trying to think how I've worked around that, but like knowing the weight of certain decisions that we make in our life, that's why, and I'm sure we'll bring this full circle to just heart, coherence, knowing, self-knowing, awareness, mindfulness, consciousness, blah, 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 because that's really all that matters, because that's all we have, and that's all we should be tuning into, because the weight of those kind of decisions, you're absolutely right. There's things that I've done, forks in the road that I've taken, that you can almost kind of panic about it. Like, oh my gosh, like that really led me down that path. You know, that wasn't the right path. I'm finding, as what you're saying, what you were saying, what were you saying? It's a constriction.
Contraction. Yeah. It's
contraction.
Like
thank you.
Yeah, pressure.
Time's getting faster, I feel like. And I think our lessons are being given to us faster, like death, rebirth kind of things, to be like being literally served up like in these little minuscule, like scenarios, little pockets, to be able to like review and be like, oh my gosh. And that they're like patterns that have played out our whole life. And then all of a sudden they're like coming in fast and furious.
Right.
Because I think that is a huge deal. And with health, with being faced with something like a chronic illness, or having to, ferret out health on top of life, which is enough to manage, that can weigh really heavy on us, I think. Don't you feel like? Because especially since our resources are finite. So it's like, well, I have, $2,000. Am I going to get chelation? I don't know how to say it. I still mess up English words sometimes.
That's okay. You can say it however you want. Chelation.
Thank you. Should I get that, to detox from heavy metals? Because I know that helps MS. Or, should I get these supplements? Or should I, do these cleanses? Do that? There's a million different things. So we're weighing all these decisions all the time, because once you've spent that money on that particular therapy and it didn't work, it almost becomes to where you don't want to do any of it, because you're like, well, what if that doesn't work? Like that. So I think there is a lot of pressure on us all, but especially people who have an extra added thing to deal with in terms of these kind of life decisions that can bog us down.
Yeah. The bonus items of things. And I've had, because my dad has this disease and I have it, and my daughter, and so it's like in the family, lots of people are afflicted with it, that I have been a research scientist, probably know as much as a neurologist or more, because I'm, wired to be well. So I've studied a lot of like products, and because I'm spiritual, I also have known that the wellness, it comes from within me. And so so the wellness comes from within me. I'm a Qigong teacher as well. So I've got the, the aspect of going, well, we're living in this environment. My Qigong master said that we're living in this environment, that even if you are a Qigong master, which is an energy master, Qi is energy, Gong is master.
Life force, right? Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I've not been on no medications, all that stuff, but I was chatting with him about, some things that I had concerned about cognitive function. And he said, Leah, you're in great shape. You are in wonderful shape. And because we've got so much stuff going on though, right now with the 5G, like you mentioned in San Diego, and a lot of people are living in the reality of the 5G towers being on. You can actually get a map from wherever you live and see the 5G.
I haven't done it yet, but you told me. Yeah,
you absolutely can. So I know it's on in my city. I know it's on in Calgary, Alberta. That we're full 5G. I know the chemtrails have stopped. So if we see a chemtrail now, it'll be something to do with good things, not bad shit going into our air.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I see the strangest cloud. I'm always outside and I'm always watching the clouds, and they'll be really strange, very very too even of divisions of the clouds that aren't just natural puffs.
Yeah. That's chemtrails, and they're still pumping. They're still pumping chemicals into the air. It's just that before, I think, and recently there's been a change where it was really just crap going into the air, that it might not be at this point, that something has changed. And I can't speak to that because I just can't speak to it. So at this moment, I could speak to it, but I can't, if you know what I mean. So there's like, you know, the things that you know, and then you know the things that you can share and you can't share. So here we are living in this biosphere of sometimes good things and sometimes crappy stuff. And all of that stuff affects us. So when you look at people's health, the food that we ingest even has been completely compromised. And so even if you're trying to eat a really clean diet that's got, you know, good nutrients, et cetera, finding food sources that are even good is really, really next to impossible. So yeah, so I've had you know, growing up on a farm that wasn't full of chemicals and eating good food to begin with in the early years of my life really helped. But when I look at the people who are, you know, 30 and younger, who've grown up in the city, all of them have health problems. And the majority of it is because they have had crappy food. And I shouldn't say all, but a large portion of people have major health problems. And even the people who've eaten well or tried to eat well have got all kinds of crap, like fibromyalgia and, you know, just, you know, pain.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah. Inflammatory problems, inflammation in their bodies. So and in the research end of things, figuring out what works and doesn't work, I've come across something that I'm giving a whirl to that is a nutraceutical. And so we're going to be talking about that as these weeks roll on to see how that's working for me. But again, to the what's credible, not credible, you know, like is chelation, is, you know, energy work. I've sat, you know, laid in a blue
light, you know, that's been my,
Yeah. So what's been the thing that has worked for you that you're doing now? Because people might be interested.
I wanted to get back to just the general journey of life with children and work and life and a chronic illness, like a diagnosis like that. There's a woman, and I'm not sure if she's on the live, but I sent the link to our mutual friend. She just got diagnosed with MS, and I see her posts and it's very shocking, and she's dealing, and she's going through the whole like acceptance phase and finding her own amazing alternative therapies. And I have to add, and we can maybe add links down below. My sister-in-law just this morning sent me a thing about how a simple sugar molecule can is showing promise in treating MS. Like, hello, that's probably why I crave sugar. I'm just going to take that out right now, because that is the one bad thing you know, I don't drink. I don't, not that a glass of red wine will kill you, but I don't anymore. And I eat generally really healthy, and I always did. But again, I think it boils down to the very beginning stages where I researched everything and I found a diet protocol. So I've been gluten-free for 22 years. And like the first thing I Googled, because I was 26, okay, it was like gluten-free alcohol. Like priorities, right? No, well, potato vodka.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's funny. I laugh now, but I was 26. Like I said, it was like a massive, like, oh my gosh, you mean I have limitations now on what I can do or not? But I think gluten, that needs to be the first thing to go for anybody facing any health condition, just because, or just maybe sprouted breads or whatever, because from what I understand, wheat has just been absolutely butchered and decimated, like, and like its entire molecular structure completely altered. So it's just not good for anyone right now. But I found a health protocol by a dad who had a son who got diagnosed with MS, and he was a chemist. So kind of like you're saying, you've been a medical researcher, and he applied some of those kind of scientific methods to like uncover. And he just found that the MS didn't virtually exist in Asia. And I think this is the case for a lot of these. MS is a little more different. It is a little different than like fibromyalgia or some of the other ones that don't. Fatigue syndrome or
chronic fatigue,
or some of the other ones. But it doesn't exist in Asia, and because they eat rice and fish, which of course fish is good because it's omega-3. Oils,
but fish isn't good from here because
full of
radiation and
I don't eat it. I mean, well, I'm a vegetarian now, but not a vegan though, but a vegetarian. But so I think to get back to like life, trying to navigate through life with a chronic disease, the biggest thing I would encourage anyone, the first thing, even before embarking on any research or anything, is to really get, like you said, you were spiritual, whatever that means. But like that, like seeking.
I know I'm not in it on my own.
Well, there's
there's
a higher power, and just looking,
right.
And it opens us up though to like a genuine connection with source, I think. Cause I mean, through this all, I was in a church too.
Mm-hmm.
It was a spirit-filled charismatic church. So that's a little different too. That has a little more like to it than maybe traditional denominations. But that connection to source, like that divine intelligence that's within us that we ignore so much. I think that's the thing, right? That they have done. The illusory constructs that like they put on everything, right, that the medical profession is a huge purveyor of, right? I mean, that's the whole rub. And like, but so then to see beyond that, we're going to have to ferret out what works and doesn't work though. That's what I'm trying to say. Since there's so many infinite choices in natural healing, and we talked about this, like, and we both do different things like this zeolite. So you were saying what has really worked for you. And I know, obviously I've looked at the things that you're taking too. And there's people who send me things to test out and I think are amazing.
Yes.
And I can tell a difference, but it's infinite. So for us to be able to know what it is, we have to really know our body. I mean, that's the number one thing I think is just body consciousness and awareness, because I don't know if I just had a really good feedback loop. I have always had like, it seems like dental issues. So I don't know if I just, that's going to sound strange, but I think if you're not like dental, not gum issues, but just dental. And I think if I honestly think this, I think people really neglect their dental care too sometimes. And root canals, they still leave things open and particles and molecules can get in that way. So a lot of times I think I actually would feel if something had gluten or legumes or soy or whatever in it, like right away. So I could actually tell that it was affecting my body. But I think we can all tune in very quickly. And so then start eliminating things, and that's free. That doesn't have to cost anything. And so that's an immediate, but that's the first thing is consciousness and getting in meditation, even for a couple of minutes to start,
right. And meditation is meditation and I'll give this one free. So the reason why you need to understand that meditation is not an external thing. It's not, you're not trying to connect with your Kundalini up through your crown chakra and all that. You're trying to get a beat on yourself.
Yes, exactly.
So bringing your awareness, your thinking into your body and actually going, okay, well, how does my body feel? Yes. How does my lungs feel? How's my breathing? How do my arms feel? How do my hands feel? And how does my back feel? How does my glutes feel? How do my legs feel? How do my calves feel? How do my feet feel? And then go through that and go, are they tight, loose, warm, cold, like what, sore, blocked? And then you'll start to actually have this internal communication. It's not about putting earbuds in and exiting your body. It's about actually tuning into your body.
You can do that too, but wait, that's down the line.
That's down the line. Yeah. But that's what people go to right away. They go to the gym, they tune out. They go to meditate, they tune out. Your best way to get well is to tune in.
That's what I'm trying to spit out too.
Yes. Tune in. Tune in.
Bringing Joanne back home. So.
No, that's good. No, it's beautiful. And it's somebody.
I want to say something before I forget.
Yes.
So one of the things that I did that I think is amazing and everyone should do. I was having anxiety in college, and I also at the time didn't want to take medicine, and also of course was like, oh, I'm not dealing with this, So I researched and I found progressive muscle relaxation. If you've ever, right, it's from like 1929 or something. There's so much wisdom from like in the old days, Napoleon Hill talks about this too, like going to sanitarium or whatever, enemas. I know it's gross, but you know, just keeping the body clean, fasts and things like that, these traditional methods that again don't cost anything, but progressive muscle relaxation, to what you were just saying, like feeling your body, because you literally go through step by step and like tense one muscle group, like your fist or, you know, your eyes, and then you release, and the goal is to see the difference between tightness or anxiety or relaxation and peace. And you can't have you can't have a relaxed mind in a tense body. And what blows my mind is people are so disconnected from their physical form. Like when talking about like pain or anxiety, I'm always like showing it in my body. I'll be like, well, you know, like when your arms like get really tight and like, or your upper back, because that's where we carry it. We carry it in the physical form. And I'm preaching to the choir because Reiki, of course, right? You go in and remove it from the energy field.
Well, Qigong, you move it too. Qigong, I would say, is way more effective than anything I've tried by far in terms of moving stress. But progressive muscle relaxation, I've also done for probably 30 years at least.
That's so cool. I didn't know that. Yeah,
very long time. But I learned it in.
And that is a great, don't you think that's a really good way to build like body awareness though? And like a feedback loop for anyone dealing with like an arbitrary situation to where they need to know, like.
And going to sleep. When you lay in bed at night, it's one of the easiest ways to go to sleep is to work that progressive muscle relaxation from your feet all the way up your body. Because oftentimes you'll go to sleep before you finish.
You absolutely do.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, a lot of us, I don't think, and that I think is a huge contributor to any chronic illness too, is our bodies are in a constant state of tightness and like agitation. I see it in a lot of people, like just so you can just read their, well, you know, I'll read their energy, but I mean, you can just see it in their aura. They're just not comfortable in their skin. They're not connected. They're not operating out of like the core. I guess that would be the number one thing that I think MS taught me, honestly. Like I could have gone off the rails for all I know. I mean,
yeah.
I think it was a huge blessing because just getting rid of the things, a lot of times too, like it's all connected. So, cause I know MS especially, and I'm only speaking to that cause that's all I know, but I think your situation is definitely different when you were telling me about it. But a lot of those chronic diseases, like fibromyalgia, which is raging right now, chronic fatigue, IBS, I think is in that same category, even though it's a little different, is trauma based. I mean, and I always kind of knew that. It's almost like you hate yourself and the body is attacking itself. And everyone just chooses a little bit of a different avenue to take. And so then you've got trauma in your childhood, right? And then you develop whatever assortment of ailments or chronic illnesses, and you've got a sensitive system, and it all goes together because then it just feeds on itself. So you've got the sensitive system that then, God forbid, you start taking these toxic medications because they are so toxic, Leah. That's one thing I wanted to say. There's medications for MS that are supposedly coming out that are very helpful. Literally, the NIH said, we don't see any compelling reason to take this, no matter the severity of your symptoms. So basically, like, we don't care if you're in a wheelchair, like jacked up, you know, cracked out, like, don't take this medicine. And I'm like, why would I take this? You know? It's just unbelievable. So you get like people who are already kind of struggling with like homeostasis, like state of like kind of health, and then you make it worse.
Right. And this is the drug manufacturers. So we've got to wrap it up for today because it is 3:00, but I just, I guess that to leave people with, you know, do your research, number one, whatever the thing is that you've got. And because you need to figure out your own body. Doing progressive muscle relaxation is something that's free that you can do. Meditation is something free that you can do, but remember to connect to the work that you're doing internally. Internally. And then we'll give some more, if Joanne's game to come on again next week, maybe we'll give some more.
Please, you might be creating a monster and I'll get my lighting all right and my
it's
hair.
Good, but it's just I think it's the talking about, or finishing up the the stories about the things that have worked and things that haven't for people. And so I've recently come across a nutraceutical. So right now there's 4 things that people are concerned about. One is their financial well-being. I'll be talking about that on Mondays for the next series of weeks with a financial guy, Greg Bird. He's fantastic. And so people who are looking for help with the financial wellness, come on over to see that. Then we've got to look at, the overall health and wellness and what people are identifying. And I'm looking at my notes because there are these 4 things. So financial wellness is one, spaces, senses and sleep is another one. And then brain boosting, neurotropics is another one. And then meditation and mindfulness is the kind of last category. But before we leave today, because I've had so many people calling me with cancer, it's just like cancer, cancer, cancer. Everyone's got cancer. And holy shit, man, here's something. Is that I've been in health and wellness for a long time, and I've had clients that have had cancer, and they said, why don't you teach this stuff? Why don't they teach this stuff that I do at the cancer clinic? And I said, well, because nobody would make any money. Just like,
right.
Like people,
exactly.
Right. People but you've got to know, first of all, that you can be well, and that we can go into the history of how the cancer stuff all happened through the Rockefeller Foundation and all this other jazziola. But let me tell you that the cancer industry doesn't have your best interest at heart. So if you actually want to be well, you have to, first of all, understand that you can be, and that there are nutraceuticals that are out now that are actually traded on the New York Stock Exchange. So you can find this company that I'm working with is traded, they're on NASDAQ. So the difference—
Is that LifeVantage?
Yeah.
Okay, so, but it's antihistamine.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, sorry, not antihistamine. Okay, go ahead.
It's a nutraceutical that they have.
Yeah, nutraceutical, yeah.
Yeah, but you cannot trade something. You cannot be a publicly traded company unless you have peer-reviewed science. And so this is the difference between this and a lot of other things that people have tried to get me involved with, because I just go, I'm not doing that. There's no science to back this up. There's nothing that, and I'll do energy work all day long because I know that works, because I'm well myself from doing energy work. But a lot of the other ingestible things, like there's not a lot of scientific evidence to support. In fact, none. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't try stuff, give it a whirl. But if you want to actually, it's the biohacking things and doing things quickly when you find stuff that actually is a remedy. So 20 years ago, when I got my genetic status, I went on a ketogenic diet, and I was completely faithful for 5 full years, 5 years of being in ketosis. But I was completely not breaking bread with anybody, right? Because I was living this very, very extreme diet. And
I know it's hard.
But it was extreme, and it was easy, but it was extreme, and it kept me out of being able to eat with anybody else, which was just wrong. It was wrong and wrong. So, because then you're not communicating with other people, you're not in communion, which
Right.
is actually longevity studies. If people,
I went through a period of that too, when it was.
I want to live a long time.
Yeah.
If you want to live a long time, then have good friends. Because that's actually the number one thing: good friends and a good family and a love environment. That's awesome. And that's
everything.
Yeah. But so in terms of products though, this is the only product in that entire time that I've come across that's actually been, got some scientific evidence behind it, that I went, oh, okay, I'm interested in doing this. So because I've had so many people calling me with cancer and fibromyalgia, I want to put an opportunity for people to get the information about this particular product. And I'll put a link below so that you guys can do that. It's something I'm taking myself, and I take nothing else. So I'm not on any pharmacy. I'm not taking any other supplements. And for those of you who are interested in hijacking the old virus, there are protocols now that are being put out by Dr. Professor Dolores Cahill, and a bunch of others like Dr. Buttar. I'm not speaking to that today, but just saying that there are ways to be well. So if you've been led down the path of there's no way to be well, and there's no way to, have control over this myself, and I've got to give up my, freedom. No, you don't. And you'll be able to find out information about this stuff that I'm taking. I'm very excited about it because it's actually something that can help your brain, helps neurology, and then helps the rest of your physical body as well. And so I'll be excited for other people to give it a whirl. And those of you who are interested can definitely reach out. I'll put a link on my link tree underneath this video when it's over. And then Joanne's info can also go in there, and people who are interested in checking out what you're doing can do that. And do you have any final words that you'd like to share with folk?
Gosh, it really, I've probably said it all. I'll have to go back and review, but it really does just start. It's really just that simple. For meditation, I think a lot of people think you're not supposed to have any thoughts come through, and that's all hogwash. You know, you can kind of sit back and observe. It really is exactly what you said. You just go internally. There's things I'm doing too. I mean, I've told you, Leah, like with detox,
Yes.
I've had tremendous success because I've pretty much, like, for all intents and purposes, now I have no symptoms, no outward symptoms. And that's kind of its own miracle, because I've glossed over it, and I can touch on this next time, but there was definitely years and pockets to where it was affecting me, and you wouldn't know maybe necessarily looking at me, but internally it felt pretty cruddy. And, you know, I had to adjust, and it was tiring and just yucky. So there's so much that you can do out there, but you just have to know what, and your body will tell you that everything needs to just come always back here. Yes.
So if y'all want a little coaching lesson next time about how to come back to that centering, then we'll maybe focus in a bit more on that the next week. And we'll chit chat about that, and we'll keep it a little bit shorter because this is just like the intro session. And if people have questions, where can they send you questions, Joanne?
I suppose either, you know, social media, which you can put, or, you know, my email address, if we can put Joanne Aarstol at Gmail. But I'm on, obviously, Facebook and Instagram. Same thing. It's just always my name, Joanne Aarstol. So anywhere there, I'll answer gladly. And I'm, you know, finally stepping out and doing more of this, like, in life, you know, and now I realize, like, this is what I'm called to do. Oh my gosh, like, I love this, you know, helping people. Yeah.
Awesome. Yes, because they have to be able to reach you in order to be able to get your wisdom. Yes. So all of you, if you have any questions or you have any comments about the show, and we haven't seen them as we've been live and, you know, not cruising through the comments, then we'll answer.
And I haven't seen any of it. I just see you on screen.
That's right. We'll look at all the questions and comments afterwards, and definitely we'll follow up. My email is leah@leahmattinson.com. So you guys all LEAHA, but I'll put it all below in the show notes, and you can always reach me through my link tree. Thank you everyone for subscribing, liking the channel, for contributing, for donating, for buying my books, any of that stuff. And hope you all are.
Thanks for everyone who came on to watch, because I told people too. I was all excited.
Yes, thank you everyone for coming. And if you love the show, give it a thumbs up. If you have feedback or ideas for other shows, then we'd love to hear that as well. And love you all, and invite you to love yourselves, love each other, mind your mind. That's all for us. Bye for now.